Magistrate Pulliam, I'm so excited to have you on the Be You with Monique podcast. Thank you so much for your willingness to join us today.
No, damn, it's a pleasure. It's mine. Thank you very much for having me, Monique.
Absolutely. So today we're just going to have a conversation. I truly believe in showing up as my authentic self. That did take some time for me because of the pressures of wanting to fit in and the pressures of wanting to be accepted. Just thinking about that, how were you able to overcome that on your journey to be a lawyer and then a magistrate?
So acceptance is a journey, isn't it? So my journey started, like yours did, in Youngstown, Ohio. I grew up on the east side in the 80s, and I went to East High School. And we could talk a little bit about my earlier childhood, but uh, where I went to high school, it was in a lower economic area. But we all were friends and we all knew each other. And because of that, I really learned a lot from my peer group. Unfortunately, because of the amount of money that was in the school district at that time, we just didn't get the best education. So, based on that, and a lot of other factors that we could talk about, I decided to join the United States Marine Corps. I joined in 1989. During that period of time, I go down to the recruiting station. And the reason why I picked the Marine Corps was because they had great uniforms and I needed that challenge in my life. And they're the few and the proud, and that's for a reason. Our boot camp is the longest boot camp of all the military services. And I thank everyone for their service. But with the Marine Corps, we do believe that we are a special breed. And in 1990, unfortunately, while I was in the Marine Corps, we had a war in Iraq. It was the first Gulf War, Desert Storm and Desert Shield. I was deployed there from Okinawa, Japan, in the 3rd Battalion, 12th Marines. Served my country there, fought for my country. I was deployed back from Desert Storm, Desert Shield, went back to Okinawa, went to 29 Palms, California, which is a desert training, and I did that for 2 years. I supported I want to say it's like LAI. Now it's was decommissioned, and I did that as well.
So, doing all of those wonderful things for our country, and ultimately it served yourself. And I first want to say thank you for the service that you have done for our country, as well as your service brothers and sisters in the military. How were you able to stay true to you, though? How were you able to stay on the course of, I am Cletus, this is who I am? Were there challenges? You're African American male. I'm sure there were a lot of challenges to really stay true to yourself. How did you navigate that throughout your career?
So, going to the military, the great thing about the military, no matter if you're African American, you may be white, you're female, male, we're all Marines. And that was the common goal. And the things of the Marine Corps, as far as loyalty, honor, discipline, and respect, that was ingrained for me from an early age. So, based in that, I really thought I thrived in that environment. And that helps you be authentic sometimes. That when you know what you are, what your focus is, and when you know the person you are at that moment in time, and you have people around you that embrace that. Too many times we believe that we can't be our authentic selves. Well, there are a lot of people who have your same goals in mind, who have your same passions, who have your same beliefs. The simple thing you have to do is find that out. And during my journey, what I've seen is when you are authentic and when you're open, you will attract people who have your common goals, your common beliefs. It's amazing, but it's true.
I love what you said there because I heard a few things. I heard from an early age you were able to determine who you were. I also heard that by knowing who you were at an early age, you were able to join a community who had the same beliefs. And for you, it was the Marine Corps. And it sounds like that was the foundation for you as you continue to on your quest of your career, your personal pursuits. Would you say
I
that?
would. The big thing is, to me, what people should really maybe take out of authenticity and what I have learned. You have to embrace yourself. That we all have differences, but we also have this commonality. So our commonality tends to be love of our family, tends to be honesty, self-sacrifice. We have these common beliefs, but we also have, differences, and they're great differences because no one wants to feel as if we're a nation of robots. Some people may value reading like I do. Some people may value physical activities such as playing sports. Uh, when you do that in your authentic self, even if you may be a little bit more assertive than someone else, you may be more self-sacrificing than another person. You will find different organizations or different groups, and to me, that's the big thing. If that means you have to start your own business in order to be your authentic self, please do that. But if you have to be in an organization or in another group, you can do that as well. I truly believe.
Those are excellent words of wisdom and steps that people can take. I love that you said all those things. I am honored that I do know you personally. You're married to my sister, not biological sister, but in our community, if you've known somebody for a long time, you become family. And your lovely wife is such an inspiration to me, and I know she is to you. How has she helped you on your quest for authenticity and just building your family around honor and the things that you have learned in the
So
military?
what I learned from my wife is that all things are possible. So when we first met, I was a litigation paralegal, and I truly wanted to go back to school to become an attorney. And the reason why I wanted to become an attorney, I saw how attorneys could help people in my litigation practice. There were a lot of personal injury, and you had people who were seriously hurt, medical malpractice issues, serious car accidents, and these incidents really changed people's lives. And if they did not have an attorney, I honestly and truly believe they would not have been compensated the way that they were. So I spoke that to my wife, Angela, and Angela looked at me, and I would never forget it. She said, I believe you can do everything, right? I believe it, truly, honestly and truly, I believe you can.
So I want to get back to what you were saying about your wife. I know this is early voting in Ohio, and we're going to talk about the election shortly. But you were saying what inspiration she was to you and how she really was that motivating factor for you to go back to school.
Yes, she was. I saw what greatness she had done in her life as being a nurse. So my wife is a registered nurse in the state of Ohio. She's provided care to in hospitals. She also worked in hospice, and she is a true hero for what she's done. So I was a litigation paralegal when we first met, and I believe that I was destined for more, not just a greatness that I believed in me, but also to help other people. I learned that because I saw how attorneys could really help people who were in serious accidents, also medical malpractice cases. And I truly believe if those people did not have an attorney, they would not have been compensated the way they were, not just for the injuries that they had at that time, but also for continuing care, which people need when they're seriously hurt. I went to my wife and I told her my dream of being an attorney. And she looked at me and told me, I believe you could do anything you put your mind to. And when she told me that, it just lit a fire in me. And that fire led me to Youngstown State University, where I was an undergraduate and I got my political science degree. Also, I was accepted into law school, and that is the University of Akron School of Law. I graduated there with honors from the law review. And I also met some adversity there, which I believe lends you to your authentic self when you deal with some adversity. And I can share some adversity if you would like me to. I typically don't tell people about my first year, but because we're friends, I will. My first year in law school is rather intimidating because you may think that you're smart, you may think of all these things, but you're around everybody who's smart, right? They pretty much have the same LSAT score that you do or higher. Everyone has high GPAs. So you're dealing with that uncertainty. And the second part of uncertainty you're dealing with is the course material. They truly tell you have to think like a lawyer. And we've probably all been in situations where you were a little unfamiliar and you were around people that you may have thought maybe knew more than you. So during my first year, I get a failing grade in contracts class. And in law school, that's a big thing. Number one, because they can kick you out. The second is that it's graded on the curve. And there were only two people who got F's. And if I'm one of them, there's another person, and that person left the program. And I was placed into course where people are not successful in law school, so kind of a last stop until you have to get kicked out. But what I learned, and I learned it from now Judge Connie Hightower, and she mentored me, and she told me it's not about what you know, it's about what you don't know and how you have to apply it. So she reinforced in me that you can do this, you just have to learn it. And when I learned it, I just took off from there. I got the highest grades in my class. They call them Cali Awards in multiple classes. Uh, I was one of the few African Americans who ever made Akron Law Review, which is prestigious for law school. And I graduated with honors from law school. So I would like to share with everybody, when you're dealing with adversity, just go through it. It can come in different forms. It can also come in different stages of your life. But as long as you can keep going, there is, some greatness on the other side for
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that. I think you sharing that story has freed so many people because they look at you. He's a magistrate. He hasn't gone through anything. He's sitting and he has this cushy life and he's never experienced anything. But for you to say, no, I did. And here are the tools for you to deal with adversity. I appreciate you sharing that, and I really believe those are nuggets for our listeners. Now, since your wife was such an instrumental factor in you getting that fire lit under you, what would your recommendation be for people, men, women, who are wanting to be married and linking with the right person?
you. Meditate and truly think about what you want out of your life and what you want from a partner. Uh, when you're able to meditate about yourself, you can determine who can complement you. Compliment doesn't mean that they're just like you. That means that they give you things that you need in your life. With myself and Angela, of course, we may have an issue here or there, but we complement each other. We're similar in the vital areas, and we're also dissimilar, but those dissimilarities bring us together into a very a great unit.
Magistrate, how long have you guys been married now?
I believe it's been 16 years.
Wow. And that's a testament for 2023,
Yes,
right?
it is.
Uh, so I heard you say you have to have commonality. And for you and Angela, that commonality was your
Yes,
faith.
Lord.
And then that where you didn't have the commonality, you were able to use that really as your strength to enhance her life and she enhance yours. So I really appreciate you sharing that with our listeners. It's a lot of times we do not get an opportunity to see behind the curtain of the magistrate, and you're sharing yourself with our listeners, and we do appreciate that. Now I kind of want to go into what you're doing now and what's happening in your world, right? There's an election coming up, and tell us all about it. Tell us why you're running, what you're running for, what's going on in Magistrate Cletus life right now.
So currently, I'm running for judge in Barberton Municipal Court. Barberton Municipal Court is in Ohio, and it includes the communities of Copley, Norton, Greene, New Franklin, Coventry, and Clinton. So if you're in those communities, you can research me further, and I would encourage you to vote for me on November 7th or sooner. The reason why I'm running is two beliefs. The first belief is in fairness. I believe at the end of the day, people want to be treated fairly and to make sure that their voice is heard. So currently, as a magistrate, I wear a robe and I have a courtroom that I preside under my judge, Judge Susan Baker Ross. And as a magistrate, I make decisions. and you make decisions from the bench, and you will listen to two sets of arguments, somebody from the plaintiff side, somebody from the defendant side. What I make sure of is it does not matter who's making the argument. So you have some people that they're represented by an attorney, and a lot of times, very well paid attorneys. Then you have some people who represent themselves, which you can do in Ohio. Everyone's given the opportunity in my courtroom to make their argument. And just because you're representing yourself against maybe a high priced lawyer doesn't mean you'll get ruled against, and vice versa, because it's all about the strength of your argument. Now, when you make decisions, unfortunately, sometimes there's a winner, sometimes there's a loser, right? But what I've seen in my career is that as long as a person is heard, they can take being on the losing side. It's just when they feel as if when they walk in the courtroom, the deck's stacked against them. That the person who's making the decision has already made it, decided what they're going to do with that person. And that's one of the main reasons I'm running. I've seen what fairness can do. I've seen how it can strengthen how people view the court system. And that's what I want to do. I want people to have it be encouraged when they come into a courtroom that they're going to get a fair shot. Now, you may not get the decision you want, but you know it's going to be a fair, honest, and well thought of decision. The second reason why I'm running is that currently in my district, there is no valor court program. Valor court programs are veterans courts. They have multiple levels of funding, so federal funding, state funding, also have local partners who contribute, not only with their money, but with their time. And they're in order to enable veterans who have unfortunately fell into criminal activity. And a lot of the criminal activity from veterans are a result of certain issues that service members deal with after they leave the service. Those issues can be PTSD. We have also seen military sexual assault. We've seen sexual substance abuse. We also seen other mental health issues and homelessness. A lot of these issues come from their service, and now they prey on other people or they let down their family. When you look at a person who's used a substance abuser, what they typically do is they've hurt everyone in their community, they've hurt their family, and now they've fell into the criminal justice system, either because they've stolen something, they've been maybe violent as well. What we want to do is to make sure in a veterans court, we not only treat underlying conditions, we're also treating your homelessness, we're also treating your mental health, but we're holding you accountable. Now, if you complete the program, you have an opportunity to get that expunged from your record. And that is a phenomenal thing. The recidivism rate for valor courts has been statistically shown, and recidivism meaning that a person will not commit a crime. So we call it recidivism. Is lower than it is for any other specialty court. Our veterans in our district are underserved, and I believe that not only can it help our service members, it can also give our community a safer community, a more stronger community, and that's a win-win for everybody.
It definitely sounds like a win-win, and thank you so much for sharing that. Unfortunately, I'm in a different district in the state of Ohio, and I won't be able to vote for you, but you have my full support, and I totally believe in what you stand for, and praying that things turn out for your favor. What I do know about you is that you are a lover of family. And I've talked to you on countless times about how you were raised and how important your parents were to you. Would you share that with us
Yes,
today?
I will. So I was raised by my mother and father, and ultimately, I found out that they had adopted me. So my birth mother was 16 years old when she had me. And I was fortunate enough to be adopted by my mother and father, who I loved dearly, who gave me everything. I've shared the story with you, and I'll share it with your viewers, that I'm walking in the mall with my mother, and I'm begging for this organ, right? Now, as a background, let me tell you a little bit about my parents. My father was a custodian in the mill, and my mother, she would clean houses for other people. They would get hand-me-downs from those people. So we didn't, suffice to say, we didn't have that much money, right? Not any money for an organ, obviously.
Right.
And neither one of them had a high school diploma. But here I am begging for an organ. So number one, they took me on when they didn't have to. Right?
Yeah.
Two, they loved me unconditionally, gave me everything that they had, and they somehow, some way, scraped the money together to get an organ, for me. So in our house, we had the organ delivered, and not only did they buy an organ, which is the big expense enough. I don't know how they ever financed it, but they also provided me lessons in order to learn how to play the organ. Right? Phenomenal parents who could do that.
Well, let me ask you this: do you still play?
You know what? Now this is the bad part of the story, right? As being a kid, you may want something, but after a couple years, you decide, I don't think this is
Oh,
for
what
me.
that?
But my parents, after they sacrificed everything, they did not say a word after I decided to leave the organ alone. Now, I had to make sure I did my lessons, but it was about 2 or 3 years later I decided the organ wasn't for me, and but it was still there.
They sound like wonderful parents, wonderful parents. And you were definitely fortunate to be raised by them. And I know they would be extremely proud of you. Tell us about your family.
All right. So my family, I have my wife, I have my 4 children. So I have my daughters. My oldest daughter, Kiana, just turned 30, which, probably dates me a little bit. We have the twins, which is, I'm in a blended family. So my wife's son, my stepson, is 27, and my daughter, Leela, is 27 as well. We call them the twins because obviously it's the same year. And then we have our son together, Uriah, who is just turned 15, which he's the baby. And we only have a couple more years, but they've all made me super proud. It's an honor and a privilege to be their dad.
Wow. And I know that they're proud of you. So let's kind of stir the conversations for some rapid fire questions. Are you up for that?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So, and this is, I do not want you thinking hard about it. Just the first thing that comes to your mind.
Oh,
I'll give you
okay.
your first thing. So, I got to get you a little loose and making you not think about everything. So, what is your favorite day of the week?
It's Monday.
Your favorite ice cream?
Butter pecan.
Your favorite season?
Fall.
And what is your favorite thing you do when you're done working? You've done all the things that you needed to do for the family. What is your favorite thing to do for your leisure time?
Like spending time with the family. Also, I do watch some sports, so maybe basketball, football, or hang out with my best friend.
Wonderful. I appreciate you sharing that. Anything that we haven't covered that you would love our listeners to know about you?
We could talk about early voting. We could also talk a little bit, and I feel like I left something out, and it
Sure,
might
go
be
for it.
helpful for your viewers. So I
Hmm.
talked a little bit about my birth mother, and during the pandemic, when we all had time on our hands, I decided to find out where my birth mother was located. So I got my original birth certificate, which you can do in the state of Ohio. And I believe that's been the law for at least 10 years now. And what I found out was, unfortunately, she had passed away. So I didn't have the opportunity to talk to her and kind of get what her side of the story was. A lot of times, as an adopted person, you have these visions in your head of what your birth mother, your birth father may have done or may not have done. But I was fortunate enough, and this is my daughter Leela who did it on Facebook. she was able to find one of my birth sisters. And about 2 months ago, I met my birth sister, and we had a great conversation. We talked a little bit about my birth mother, and my birth sister had told me that my birth mother had told her about me, and I was able to get that viewpoint and a little bit of that closure, which sometimes I think at that point in my life I needed. And me and my birth sister currently now we're establishing a relationship, which I believe I need in my life. And I'll turn maybe a little bit more into authenticity. Uh, when you talk about authenticity, you will change during the course of your life. Yes, you may have an authentic self that comes from when you're a child, but we think differently when we're 20, 30, and now I'm 50. And I'm still authentic, but I'm still not that person I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And to realize if you're changing, that doesn't mean you're not being authentic. Sometimes that just means you're growing. And growth is good, and growth in and of itself is authentic. So I just would like to share that.
Oh, I appreciate that. And you're right in my wheelhouse there, talking about how important growth is and how important about it is to embrace your whole self. Because if we're not growing, we're dying, right? And as long as I got life to live, let's live it. So that's why on this platform, I want to give people permission to be who they are, to be their authentic selves, to not be afraid to soar for more, to learn more. You talked about the importance of community. You talked about the importance of values and beliefs, and really being around people who can give you um, more direction. When you were talking about, I believe, Judge Hightower, you were talking about how it is important to really know thyself, to challenge yourself. And I think it's so important for people to understand not to be afraid of where you are now, but having the willingness to go
Mm.
further, having the willingness to learn, having the willingness to be instructed, having that willingness to have that criticism. A lot of times we don't want to be
Mhm.
criticized, but there's healthy criticism. It's just telling you, "Hey, Monique, you did that this way, but here's another way to do it, with which will lean toward a better outcome." So I really appreciate this conversation, Magistrate Cletus, and looking forward to being able to call you Judge Cletus in the future. You were talking about early voting that's going on.
Yes. So currently in the state of Ohio, there's early voting. Election day is on November 7th. So you're able to early vote. You have to go to your board of elections, and ours is some kind of board of elections located in downtown Akron. The hours are available on their website. And I would stress to people, no matter who you vote for, and I would say you should vote for me, right? But
Absolutely. You better say
but
it.
go vote because it's
Yes.
important for you to do it. And I will go around canvassing. We did it yesterday. We'll do it today. We'll do it until the day before the election. When we talk to people, they want to make sure that their voice is heard. They want to make sure that they're tired of politics as it is currently seen. And I stress to people, it's not a political election between myself and my opponent. This is about hope. It's about a belief. And if you believe it, we can have a difference in our community. If you believe in change, then I would strongly tell you to vote for Cletus Pulliam for judge for Barberton Municipal.
Absolutely. One thing that you said earlier that I want to circle back to, you were saying when individuals come to your court, they receive fairness, regardless of the outcome, excuse me, regardless of the outcome of the decision, it's going to be fair. And I think anytime you go to court, it's intimidating. I can remember having to go to court. Now, this is way long time ago, long, long time ago. I used to, drive a little
No.
fast, and that kinda caught up with
Okay.
me. So then I had to go to court.
Right.
And because at the time I was working for the county, so I would go to court for different things for my job. But now I'm on the other side of it. And thank God the magistrate knew me. And when I say the magistrate knew me, when I saw him, a calmness came over me. Not because I wasn't guilty of being of speeding, because I knew he was going to be fair. I knew he saw me. And oftentimes that's the issue with us. We feel like we're not seen. We're just another number on the docket. We're just another here we go. Oh, I'm not even a name. I'm a speed ticket. I'm not a name. I'm a harasser or whatever those issues are that come before the court. But in that moment, I had a calmness. I was a little embarrassed to be completely transparent because I'm like, I was just in the courtroom with you for something else. And here I am before you now because I forgot to pay this ticket. And now but it all worked out. And he was so gracious to me. And I've seen other magistrates and judges be gracious to people because at the end of the day, I really believe in the human spirit, and I believe that the human spirit is kind. I believe the human spirit is loving. I think because of social media today, we see a lot of negativity and outcry. The outcry really is justice, and I think that's necessary too. But I am a true believer that no matter what my brother and my sister looks like, it within them there is kindness. Now I do know that there are people who are not kind, but I choose to show up. My authentic self is to believe that when I greet you and you greet me, there's going to be a kind exchange. So I said all that to say I do appreciate that individuals can walk in knowing I am going to be treated like a person. I'm going to receive fairness, and I'll have to deal with the truth, but I'm going to receive fairness based on the truth.
And because, Monique, at the end of the day, when you have individuals who are fronting you, you have to remember that's someone's son or someone's daughter or someone's father, someone's mother, sister. These people are in your community. Now, they may not be in a particular place you live, but they're members of your community. And you have to make sure that everyone's given fair treatment according to the law. That's the oath we make as judicial officers, is to the Constitution. And the Constitution demands it, and I believe, common decency demands it. And you may get a decision. You may have to serve some time. I was a prosecutor. I know, unfortunately, some people have to serve time for the crimes they commit, or to make sure the community is safe. And I believe in a safe community, but you can do that when you're also being respectful to each and every person. And I'll expand on that just a little bit. Not only for the people who are in front of you as defendants or as litigants, but you mentioned that sometimes you would attend because of your job to court. That's our job as well, to make sure each and every person who steps in the courtroom, no matter what role they have, is respected. So if you have victims of crime who come into court, treat them respectfully. The last thing they want to deal with is to have to, number one, be victimized. Number two, have to come out of their day, usually just going to work, and now they have to go into a courtroom. And you can be respectful to everyone. And as long as you're respectful to everyone, to me, that's kind of like half the battle as far as being a public servant. Because at the end of the day, I tell people I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I am so full with gratitude that you showed up for me today and showed up for our viewers so that they could see you and get to know you and give them permission to be their authentic selves. I know you're busy. The election is on the 7th of November. I thank you for your time. Any final words for our
Well,
viewers?
just for early voting, make sure that you go out and vote. Early voting started in the state of Ohio. It goes till November 7th. If you're in the communities that I discussed, I know that you'll support me in this movement that we have, in this cause that we have, because I believe it's the just and the right cause. Please select Cletus Pulliam as your next Barberton Municipal Court judge.
Thank you for that. Make sure you extend my love to your beautiful wife and give your son a big hug for me. Thank you again for being a part of Be You with Monique. Until next time. I sure hope you enjoyed the podcast today. If there was something that inspired you, encouraged you in any way, I hope you will subscribe, follow, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Until next time, be you.